I want to commend this class for, bearing with me and jumping in and trying all kinds of new things. We had a very full schedule, but I think that the grid paintings and the little book paintings were wonderful. I tried to post as many as I could, just so that you get a feel for what other people are doing and what's interesting out there. And maybe there's an idea or so floating around that you might incorporate down the line. There's one other thing I would like to recommend, and it's a book, and it's called The Boy, the Mole, the Fox, and the Horse. Most of all, the drawings and paintings are so beautiful. The Boy, the Mole, the Fox, and the Horse by Charlie Mackley, Mackery. It's a little book, but it's so full of wonderful things. And I'm going to just read one here's an inside page, but the drawings are just beautiful and so meaningful. What do you think is the biggest waste of time? You ready? This is the boy talking to the mole. What do you think is the biggest waste of time? And the answer is comparing yourself to others, said the mole. So try not to compare, even though you see others painting and you see this one is better, that one is less, try not to compare yourself, just go forward. And the other side of the page says, I wonder if there is a school for unlearning. So if you learn something that's not so great, how can you unlearn that? But this is a wonderful little book. It's available on Amazon, and I recommend it just as a painter, as an artist, as a person. Just try to get a copy for yourself. It's a hardcover, and it's very reasonable. But the drawings, just beautiful, so rhythmical, and just beautifully done. Anyway, that's that. Okay, we're going to go on. Right, we can go to the table now, Michelle. Today, I'm going to start a painting with absolutely nothing on the table, just a piece of reference. And I've chosen a sunflower because I just think we need a little bit of something like this right now in our lives. And it's also pretty simple, and it has a lot of areas to concentrate. It has a beautiful sky. It has, of course, one big sunflower. It has some very beautiful leaves. They're just drawn. I mean, they're just growing, naturally lovely. And then there's a couple of trees in the background. But I want to show you what it's like to start out with nothing on the paper at all. Okay, the first thing I do is if I have a photo piece of reference or even a book or whatever I'm working from. Sometimes I work and I put something right on the computer and start drawing. But what I try to do is I try to divide the page with a very light line down the middle and across the center. And the reason I do that is I want to be able to say, how much is here? What's the proportion? How much sky do I have? Placement on the page is very important. It doesn't seem like it in the very beginning, but it is. So that's your very first step. Take it, fold it in half so you have 4 quadrants. And now we're going to look at those quadrants. Okay. So what I see most of the sunflower is on the left-hand side of center. Probably 2/3 on the left, 1/3 on the right. So the first thing I would do is try to place that center piece of the sunflower, but I'll be looking at how much is up here, how much where the petals end, and then there's petals here, and then I want 2/3 of my sunflower to be on one side, and this is the centerpiece, the very centerpiece. So that's going to stay up in here. I'm going to draw a little bit darker than normal than I would on a watercolor, because I need you to see it. So, okay, we have center. So this is kind of 1/3 and this is 2/3. Okay, now if you look out to where the petals begin, and where they end, I would say from here to the edge of the paper, I would give myself another circle going around. That'll be for where the petals might end. Okay, so now we have an inner and an outer circle. Now what I'll do is I'll look above right here where that first big leaf is. Notice the what's going on with those sunflower leaves. They have a very like a ragged stepped in edge. Down here below, you're going to leave a space. Then you're going to have another leaf, piece of a leaf. Then the big leaf at the bottom, this big flowing leaf, that's going to play a big part because it's very it has a lot of motion and it's kind of musical. Also notice that this gigantic stem is coming down and the stem is falling on the left side of center. So just really lightly give yourself a stem like that. Then let's look at this big leaf. Most of it is on the right side, but on the left side, we're going to go around and it has a very a swooping motion, which is really kind of fun. And we'll go down and it goes off the page and in here, and then go down and look carefully at what goes in and what comes out. So this is this big, let me move this over if you can see a little bit. Okay, how's that? Then there's another stem that's probably coming from the main stem. So we'll come out. Look at the distance between this leaf up above. So that stem is going to come in between and out, and then it's going to come down, over, and then so we're placing in these blocked off areas. Now the stem is going to go on to the back of that. So you just want to indicate as a reminder for yourself what's happening there. And this top edge of this big swoopy leaf, really look at what's happening there and how it's coming across the page. Okay, now down below the big leaf, we have the stem. If you put in above, it's getting big and thick and it's all the way down here. So this is more of the stem. This is the upper part of the stem. Now coming out, we're going to see that there's another stem that comes out and it's kind of triangular in feel because it gets wider and narrower. And then we're going to indicate just what's happening with this leaf. Down, up. And I'll tell you, this is all, what I'm doing now is really all the drawing that should happen in when you're preparing something for painting. You don't want to overdraw. I want you to remember this one thing I'm going to say. Try to draw with the brush. Draw with the brush. Don't overdraw because then the painting becomes a drawing that's been painted in. So you want to draw with the brush. Okay, so now looking at where we are, trying to get this up here where the petals are, then there's one last, let me put this over here. Coming out from the main stem and this real big leaf, we have another leaf that is going to go out and down, and then it's going to come back in up here, probably halfway up the petals. And look at those jiggity jaggedy, leaf edge. And this is also going to be, you're going to see the veins coming off the back of the leaf. Okay, so now if you look at this, I'm going to darken this a little bit so you can see a little better. There's a few clouds up here. I'll just give myself a little notation as to that. And then the tree line, you want to just, go around and say, okay, the tree's going to come into there. And then where's the tree line going to come into here? So we have a tree line, we have a little bit of indication, and we have our big sunflower. So now proportion wise, you really have it, and you can get rid of those, the vertical and the horizontal line, because you don't need that anymore. That's a done deal now. So get rid of that so it's not confusing. You don't think it's another stem or something. Now, as far as what would happen next, I would probably use a little bit of masking fluid on the inside of this the center. Oh, inside there's another dark area that's inside the center part of the flower. So you might put that in. And what you need to do when you do a flower like this is you need to look very carefully at how the petals are connected to that inside piece. And you have to also, do they come to a point? Do they come in? They most certainly do. Also, there might be a little bit of a leafy thing sticking up in the back. Then you also want to look at, that's a little tall. So I'm going to just, some of these are going to be a little wacky looking. And then you don't want to draw them all in per se. What you want to do is you want to indicate how many and where they are going around. Like, is there a big space in here between this petal and this petal? Because you're not going to have equal spaces all the way around. You can see the spaces at the top are much wider, you see, than what's happening along the sides, and especially at the bottom of the flower. They're very tightly tucked together. Also, when one petal is in front of the other, the one behind is going to be darker and have a shadow. Besides being a darker color, it's going, because it's falling in a darker spot. The one in front of it is going to be much lighter. So you have to keep that in your mind. Linda, where's Linda? Okay, or Lita, I'm sorry. Okay, so going around, looking over here, looking. The other thing to look at, and this is something you don't have to draw in, but you have to be aware of and conscious of, is, let me see if I can get this closer to the camera. You see the shapes that are inside the petals? Those are big time. Those are big time value makers. And that's very important because you can indicate them to yourself. I'm going to draw one in right now, right up here. I'm going to do it so that you understand what I mean.
Please
So,
move your paper left a little bit. You can,
which one? This one? This one? Is that better?
It's fine.
that's
Okay.
good.
Okay. So see how I'm holding the pencil? Look, notice where this is. Way back. Not like this. This is a very deliberate stroke, but you want it to be a little more organic. Okay, so you come way back. All right, so now looking at that area that's inside the petal, I'm looking how it goes up and then it has a shape to it and goes down. This shape in here is going to determine the different values that you're using. Okay, and it will improve the look of the flower as you go around. Now, because I'm painting for a long time, I don't do that at this point. I don't draw that in, but I want you to see these shapes. I want you to see what happens inside the petals at each time. Okay, so now there's that one. And then I'm going to go back. I'm going to look at the negative space between the petals. This is incredibly important, this space in here. Let me circle that. The space in there. That's what you have to look for, things like that, because that's going to really improve your drawing. Okay, so now we're going to go up. This one has a real pointy curve. You can exaggerate things if you want. You can make it wider. You can make it narrower. But the thing that's important to do is to get the character of the flower. Just like, and I'm not comparing myself in any way to Mr. Van Gogh, but if you looked at his sunflowers, you see the wildness in the flower. You see the character, and that's what I'm trying to encourage. Now here, this leaf here is coming more towards us. So what you have to do is you go behind the one in front of it, you draw, and notice the pencil way back on the pencil. That is going to help you. It's going to feel strange in the beginning, but before you know it, it will be a natural idea. Now I'm just going to give a line there because that's telling me that this part underneath here is going to be in darker gold than, because this petal is casting a shadow onto that one. Okay. All right. So now what happens with this inside? So that's the building of the petals, looking for all the unusual shapes. Look, each one has its own character, like each one of us. So, and if there's a school of unlearning, we all need to go there when it comes to painting. Draw with the brush and treat your pencil more organically. Okay. All right. So going around, that's how you do the structure. Now, what I see, and I'm going to bring this pretty close to the camera. You see all those little like cross hatching, that's where the seeds are, I believe. Eventually the seeds drop out or get dry. But when I see that, I say to myself, there's kind of this really cool pattern that's happening there. So what I would do is I would look at the pattern and give myself just a direction. I'm not going to draw it in. I'm going to give it a direction. And you want to make it look like it's going round. It has some dimension to it. So that's why you don't draw a straight line across, you draw a curved line across. Then you go the other way. So it's sort of like a plaid or, a crosshatch a little bit, but you have the one going one way and the other going the other way. Now, can we see that in the drawing a little bit? At this point, I would probably take my kneaded eraser and I would go back over the drawing and not erase it, but take most of it off. You see? So it's just there as a reminder. And I don't draw all the petals in. What I will do is I will indicate all of a sudden what happens over here is that it drops down and this one will go off. And then all the ones at the bottom are quite much narrower petals than what's at the top. The stem, I'm going to say, okay, this is the dark side. I'm going to remind myself of that. This, and you can, and you want to know where your petals will end. So that's kind of the plan, a roadmap plan for doing a painting like this. Any questions so far? No? Let's see, anything in the chat? Nothing in the chat? Oh, blank chat. Okay, blank check, blank chat. Okay, all right. All right, so now what I'm gonna do is, what happens next? What happens next? So, not that I'm gonna let this, well, when you want to take out those hatch marks that are in the very center, because that's kind of a real dark green. Now I sent you, did everybody get that image?
Yes.
Yes, okay, good. All right, and if you didn't get it, send me a note and you will get it, because I'd love for you to try this if you have a chance. Okay, so to create that pattern in here, the very next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put this masking fluid in a very, very fine. I'm going to do it really fine today because I want to be able to take it off eventually. And while we're in class, that would be a nice thing. So good drawing, placement on the page, and then looking carefully, drawing organically. Now, this doesn't have to be real deliberate, or because what's going to happen is it's just going to create an impression of what I'm seeing there. This is my impression. What you might see might be very different, but that's what makes a painting your own, is when you can take it and make it that. Okay. So I put this on very lightly so that we could possibly get it to come off. Okay. All right. So that's masking fluid. You look at the image and you say, gee, could there be masking fluid anyplace else? Well, there probably could be, like on these petals. There's some really light areas, but today what I'm going to try to do is get right to painting without doing that, just leaving light areas. Someone asked me before about, is it the water or the watercolor, or what is it that's able to create the transparency and lightness? Because I'm always saying, leave whites of the paper, because that's what creates the beauty of watercolor. That's what creates the sparkle of watercolor. Now, I see some very, very light areas on these stems, so I might just put them in real quick. I'm going to put some on this one over here because it's very light. And then the one that's real curvy over here, which I could probably drop down. That's a little high.
Is there a particular reason that you use the bottle versus a brush to put on the fluid?
I just feel I have a little more control over that. And it's purely a preference, whatever you like. And you just have to get used to it. It's whatever you feel like it's best for you. I mean, this could be done with a brush, no question. No question at all. So I'm going to put some on this stem that's coming right into the main stem. And it's only on the top of the stem because that's where the lightest area is. Okay, so we have a little bit of masking up here. And I'm not gonna go crazy with this today because I want to get to the painting part. Okay. Also, there's a lot of pencil on here, so I'm going to try to eliminate some of that and just start painting. Now, just like every other painting I've ever done with you guys, I try to make a palette. What colors am I going to be using? And here's the paint. Okay. And I'm going to start sort of top to bottom because you don't want to drag your paint over. And I'm going to try to go around some of this that's going on here. And I will indicate all along the way, especially now, I'm going to put a little bit of every color that I'm using. So let's see. I'm going to lay this right on top just so we all can see. Okay, so we have a sky color. So I'm just going to say, oh, that's a little crazy. That's a little crazy blue. Not that you would care about that, but I'm going to get a better blue. That's a little bit. Okay, and that's not the strength of it. That's just the tone of it. If I want the strength of it, I'm going to have to water it down. Okay, so that says to me sky. Now, the color of the flower is important, and there's a lot of there's a lot of golds in painting, but there's a lot of golds that are going to happen here. So I'm going to put down what I call a sunflower gold. Then what happens when you get into the area? Let me see if I can get this better in view here. Everything can't be in view. Then I'm going to get a darker color for what happens on the petals when it goes in and around. Then that color that's in where we did the masking fluid, I'm going to call that the center, the holding center. I'm going to put this color. It's a little darker version of that. And maybe I'll mix a little bit of brown with that, one of the Van Dyke browns, just to get it even darker. And what's in the very center, believe it or not, it's there's a green in there, way in the center of the flower. So I'm just gonna I'm going to mix a little bit of the green with that brown and put that in there because you don't want it to be, straight green. It just looks too raw. Okay, so far we have sky, flower, middle, green. And to make a difference, even though visually when you're looking at this, the leaves on the flower are a pretty bright green, and the trees behind it are not so light. So I would use probably a perline green, maybe with a little bit of hookers to brighten it up, because perline can get a little deadly sometimes. I'll tell you, that snow scene that I did, I used perline on those trees and I was very happy with that. So this is a color, a mix of a color that I would use for the trees in the back so that it would set off the color of the leaves. And the color of the leaves, I'm going to get to right now. It's going to be a mix of a little bit of the yellow green in the lighter areas. So this is your roadmap between this. Oh boy, stuck to between your drawing and your palette, you're ready to go. You're ready to go. And I don't often start a painting until I have this in front of me, till I have this ready to go. I mean, sometimes I just say, oh, I'm not gonna overthink this. I'm just gonna jump in and mix the colors and go as I go. That's fun too. Okay.
What colors did you mix for the sunflower color?
Well, it's a cadmium yellow, and it's what I call Q gold. Is that has a big long name? Quinacridone Gold. Does anybody know that gold? I don't have it in front of me right now, but it's a wonderful color. It's this kind of, so that all of this is your color. All of this is your flower. Okay. Now, what should we be doing here? Should we wet anything first? Anybody have a thought on that? What would you do? Let's see if anything I've been teaching has sunken in.
I'd wet the sky first.
Oh, who said that?
Beth.
Who?
Beth.
Oh,
Me.
Beth. Yeah, I think that's a pretty good plan. But what I want to do is I have to lay this down a little bit. Otherwise, I'll have a dripping sky.
Karen,
Yes?
Cheryl,
Yes.
Quinacridone Gold.
Thank you. Quinacridone. There it is on the chat, everybody. I want to tell you that is a magical color. I've used it and I love it. And when you mix it with other things, great things happen. So that's one to put in your bag of tricks. Thank you. Quinacridone. Oh, who invents those names? I don't know. They must have nothing else to do. Okay, so we're going to put some water where the sky would be. So I'm going to go up here. All right, just put water. You can put it in and around the petals. My water is a little green, but we'll live with that. Okay. All right, now I'm going to go to some of that blue. And you can see that the blue, I mean, I'm going to put in a cobalt blue because I think it has a more subtle touch. Okay. And, depending on how you feel about it, you can just let it run and do its thing and look natural, and sometimes add a little more water. And then, an area that you might want to emphasize. Now, you don't want to have a hard edge, so you go back and you just let the sky do its thing. Okay, now, if I wanted to have some kind of a, like a swoopy thing here, I could just take a tissue or paper towel and just blot it off a bit. And then over here, I have the same kind of feeling on this part of the sky. You don't want it to be like it's, I don't know, too hard edge. That's perfect. Okay, so you can see, it's kind of a soft edge. It needs to dry a little bit. So the biggest rule here is don't try to paint right next to that because it won't work. Now, I think, believe it or not, I think that I'm going to paint right over the area in the center of the flower because the masking fluid has dried. We'll see what happens with that. So that's going to get us that, oh, ooh, is everybody dizzy on that one? That's going to get us the center brownish gold. Okay. So I'm going to use some of that wonderful Q gold. I'm going to call it just because it's easier. And it's pretty dark, and knowing that you have the masking fluid under there. In this case, would you put down any water? No, I would say no. I was waiting for somebody.
Oh, sorry, what?
Would you put down any water before we did this, before we put this brown on?
No.
Center?
No. Yeah, okay. I would say no is correct. And if you're looking at this, it gets darker on the outer edge, and then it has lightness, more light, and then it gets dark again. So that's what you need to attack first. Okay, so here, just going to put this down. Okay. Notice where I'm holding the brush. Not up close. And then here again.
Can you move the reference photo? It's blocking your painting.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, you know what? I'll hold that over here. Okay. So now it looks like a Target logo. And we'll add a little more of that Q gold in there. And while it's still wet, you're going to take, now here, this is a good thing for who asked me about how does it, how does it stay wet, or is it the water, or is it the paint? Now, in this case, I'm using just water, and I'm going to kind of let that run into each other. I'm going to go back and add a little more darkness in here. And a little more darkness on the outside edge. Now, all depending on your style and the way you like to paint, these are the decisions you make right at this moment. Okay, and you know what? I'm not, you see some whites happening there? I'm not stressing about that. I think that that's a good thing. Now, the green, I'm going to use a little bit of this, I'm going to mix a little bit of green with that brown, and I'm going to actually put that in the center and kind of let it bleed into what else is there. And when all of that comes off, and leave the whites, and you can always go back and paint in more shadows and more colors if you want, but leave the whites. Let that be something that you just hang on to. Okay, now the next thing is we cannot really paint right next to that because obviously it's wet and it would, so I'm going to attack what's going on down here below in the, whoops, in the leaf area. You guys can see that, right? Okay. All right. Now, since there's a lot of different things happening there in the greens, I'm just going to wipe this palette a little bit. Anybody have any questions so far? Was this a good thing to see the drawing before I did it?
Yes.
Okay, good. I don't want to bore you. That's the last thing. Last thing I want to do. Okay. Okay. Now I'm going to stay with this larger brush. This is a 10. And right now, so far, the sky, the middle of the flower, this has all been done with a 10. And you can change, you'll be changing when you do the petals for sure. That's it. I'm going to take a smaller brush. Okay, so the greens. I'm going to show you this green right here. This is the lightest green. And that's where you start. You block in your lightest greens first. Now, if I was going to do more masking fluid, I probably would have masked out those veins there a little bit, but I'm just gonna now leave the whites, leave the whites. Okay, we're practicing leave the whites. Okay, so let's see, we need a nice fresh, that's the other thing. Need a nice fresh green. And we need it to be on the lighter side because believe me, you can always go darker, but you can't, it's a hell of a thing to try to get in there, pardon my French, a hell of a thing to get back in there and try to lighten these things. Now I noticed that this stem here is light, so, but it needs to have, it will have a highlight coming off of it. The main stem, which is this big giant guy coming down. Now that has a very, very light highlight on the side. So not so much below. And here's the stem as it's going off. And here's that one that's goes from narrow to wide. So you just get those in there. Now say you wanted to take off some of this. Wet the brush, dry it, go back in, and lift. You see what happened? Just lifted the color right off of there. Just because I said, well, maybe it should be, maybe it should be lighter than that. Okay, but this is blocking in that. All right, now we're going to get to the bigger leaves. And the thing you have to notice, and this is something that just comes with experience, is that darker, there's shapes in here. That's why you don't want to cover the whole thing with paint. You want to start thinking lights and darks right off the bat, light, medium, dark. This is the lightest area. These are getting medium. This is getting some darks in here. This is getting darker. And this is really dark, right up in where that leaf curls around. So that's what you have to think of in your palette. And start off that way. Start off thinking that way right out of the box, because it's very helpful. Okay, so as far as that shadow area is going to go, and it's not going to be real dark and deadly. It's going to just be darker green. Okay, I wish you could see everything here, but it's like impossible. Okay, so what I would do on my palette is I would mix something for the lightest areas, something medium, and then I know where the dark is on my palette, so I'm not going to mix anything there. I'm just going to leave it. Okay, so here we go. I'm going to show you on this really upfront leaf, this really swoopy one, what it means to be thinking as you're painting. Okay, so I'm going to put on the lightest tones first. So I see coming towards me is this big kind of lightish area. Okay, then I see another piece over here that looks triangular in a way. And a little poopy drop there. Then up here, right here, this is what you do. You look for these shapes. Look for the shapes. It's hard to see them. You have to sometimes squint at them. Okay. Then up in here, there's a big one that comes down. And then there's a little triangular piece here. And then there's one that's kind of circular here. Okay. And then maybe over on this edge here, there's going to be something here. So now it really looks disjointed, but now go to your medium tone green, not the darkest, but the medium tone. And you're going to actually go right in while it's wet. And you're going to drop the medium tones in there. Let me tell you, this does not happen overnight. This is something you have to work at. And sometimes you lose your place like I just did. But that's okay. You just go back and regroup. And, if you wanted to, right away to distinguish, this might bleed, but I'm going to try it anyway. To distinguish one area from the other right off the bat, you might so you don't lose your place, you might go in here. This is where that space is between,
We just lost your phone, Karen.
oh, really? Come on back, come on back. I don't know what happened. Whoop. Oh,
You're
here we go. I don't know what does that. Crazy. Whoop. Okay. What I was saying was the area in between here, and know that there's little blue areas of sky showing through. So try to keep that in mind as well. But this is going to tell you where that shape is in between the two leaves. I'm filling it in kind of quickly, but I want you to see what's happening. So, and you can go in there and as a reminder for yourself, just to drop a little blue. Drop a little blue in there so you know that the sky, you may change the color of it, but at least there's something coming through. And the same thing with the tree color on the bottom, which is that darkest green. You might go in there right now and put it in. As a reminder, and don't feel like you have to fill it all in. Leave some areas that you're going to drop some blue in. Okay, so let's see.
Can you show the reference?
Yes, I will. One second. You see how there's blue coming in through here in the skies, and you see the darkness of that green versus the other.
Okay.
Okay, that's what I wanted to make sure you saw. So right away, this thing that's defining this leaf right away is this shape. Okay, and the same thing can happen on the other side. I'm going to do very quickly this darker green, which gives you, it should give you the outside shape, and also you want to leave some areas that you know are going to have some blue. So I'm going to put those in there. Of course, painting on the spot is, really tricky, but that's why I'm here. So I'll do it. Okay, so now you can see where it's coming together. The same thing is going to happen up here. Now there is a leaf on the reference that comes down, and this is kind of all trees back here. But and then the darker areas in there. Now, knowing that you're going to put like stems or trunks of those trees in later, you don't want it to be like major dark there. So let me just put this in quickly here. And we'll just add water going out. And up here, there's some trees up here, but there's a lot of white there. There's a lot of white coming through, which means sky. And
Karen, now that's a different green, isn't it, than the one
Yeah,
you used on
this-
the,
yeah, I'm calling this the tree green. This is kind of praline green. And that really sets back the other. Let me just drop some sky in here real quick. And then there will be, and don't be afraid, just go for it. And, add water if you're not sure. That's good. Okay, and slowly but surely, it's going to, take form. I'm going to go back now to the actual leaf green a little bit. And this one is going to be more middle tone, which is right here. But there's an edge. There's an edge on that. So I'm going to leave that white edge. And then let's put that in for now. But this is color blocking. And this is where you know, where the beginning of your painting happens. This is where it happens. So as you build and you leave these whites and they will come forward. They will come forward as the painting comes together. This is the same tree green on this side. Over here. And then there's some down below here. Let's see if we can get this in here. I'm just gonna block this in. I wish I had time to, you know, go through the whole painting with you, but it's a little tough for that. And then there's a little piece of it here. And then, you know, leave some whites, leave some whites. Okay. Go back to the lighter green, just for color block. This is kind of medium, sorry. It's kind of medium. So we're going to put some medium in here. And then add water. And, you know, leave a white edge there because there's a nice highlight there. So you can see that it's coming together. Now, I could try to go in there and do one of those petals. Oh, you know what? There's a little more, let me put that in there. This green up here. Okay. So now, you know, if you can see that all of this is taking shape and you know where you're headed. That's the ticket. You know where you're headed. Let me see if I can get that masking fluid off the center of that without killing it. And don't worry if it, you know what it looks like with masking fluid coming off, so it won't be the end of the world. Okay. Let's see if some of this will come off. Oh, yeah. Okay. Now, of course, this is just the beginning of this pattern. This is the your roadmap to finding your way. But what it does do, it constantly reminds you of where you are. So see, it does look like it's going round, and it does have, you know, the feeling that I want. Now, everyone's style is different, of course, but try to remind yourself here and there that, you know, you want it to look like the flower. Okay, now, oh, here we go. Okay, let me try one or two of these petals so you can see what goes on there. Any questions on the whole thing so far? No? Okay. I guess,
You're gonna change and put a lighter color in the cross hatching, right?
and where?
You put the masking fluid, you're going to fill those lines with the lighter color?
Yeah, I may fill it with a lighter color. I may just put water over it so that it picks up the color that's already there, which is kind of magical in a way. But I'm going to see where this comes together. It might come, you know, kind of more abstract than I dreamed. But
And
you know,
how would you address that the highlights on the center where the light is hitting
in the flower,
in the center of the flower?
oh, the real highlights. Well, I could try to lift some color out of there if I wanted to. You mean where it's, but I've left some whites, and I could put dark on more darker on.
You
either
see
side.
in the center on the bottom, there is light.
Yes, I
because-
do. You mean right here?
Yeah,
Those lights, I can either darken what's around them to make that look lighter,
mhm,
or I can lift color off.
okay.
But I'm not too concerned that it's exactly like this. This is my inspiration and my what do you call it? Reference. It's a reference. It's a place to start. It's where you go. Okay.
Karen,
Yes.
Karen, I have to make you the host because I have to leave to open up another room.
Okay. Well,
Should I
okay.
leave- I'll leave the sunflower bag then, okay?
Yes, please. Yeah,
Okay.
that's good. Okay, now we're gonna go in there and look at some of these petals because we have a few more minutes here. Okay, so let's see. Let me see if I can lift this up a little bit. Because it probably won't run as much now. Okay, I'm gonna start at the top. And what I'm seeing is, there's one here. And there are some light areas. There are some highlights, and I'm going to notice where they are, and I'm going to bring the color right into the base like that. Now, at the same time, there's another shape in here. So I've mixed that darker gold, and I'm going to add it right now because it's going to make it a more natural transition, especially along the edge and there. And notice the edge of the, this edge of the inside of the sunflower, this is not a regular edge. It's like this. You see how that's, now look where I'm holding the brush now, down, because I'm being very deliberate here. Very deliberate. Okay, so it's either farther back or front. Now this was a little too wet. I probably should have waited a few minutes, but I'm anxious to show you some of the shapes of these flowers, petals. Now there's another one that comes up from behind here, and I'm going to put that in. That's the thing that you need to look at. Look, what is it? Learning to look with eyes that see. That means the shape of things. Now there's a pretty big space, and over here I'm going to do the next big petal, which has a real teardrop look to it. Going in once again, and there's also another piece that comes in front of that. So I'm gonna indicate that to myself right away, and then okay. So also in that area, there is, in that teardrop area, the one side is pretty dark, but then the other side is very light. So I'm just going to use water. And here's that answer to that question. Is it the water? Is it the paint? What is it? And then there's a little bit of an orange tone mixed in every once in a while. So I'm going to bring that in right away as a reminder. This is Chinese orange. That's also a magical color. I don't know why some of these colors are just more magical than others, but they are. Now, this one over here has a little orange to it. So as you go around, as you build this all the way around, it takes patience, but it's all worth it. When you get to the end, you go, yay, I made it. Now, the one that's happening over here, I'll go this way a little bit. Look at the space in here. That's very important. That's the negative space, and that's what you need to be aware of, negative space. It's not negative painting, it's negative space. Now this one has that orangey thing right away over here on its side. So I'm going to put it in like that. And look how many tones are in these petals. And I'm leaving whites. Do you see the little whites that are left there? You don't fill them in. Don't fill them in. That's it. Okay. Now, the question about what happens to these lines that are in here. You know what? I see some of it is left on there. That's not a good thing to leave it on there when you're ready to paint, because it'll make a very big mess. Okay, so is everybody getting the gist of what's going on here? So it's the gold, it's the cadmium yellow, it's a little bit of Chinese orange. And if you want to, if this is a little too drastic for you, you can. Oh, someone asked about those white areas that were on the center, this one. Whoops, excuse me. This one where the light is coming through here and there. What you can do a couple of things. If you notice it right away, of course, you can leave them. If you're not concerned, which it didn't concern me that much, but you can put water down right on top of everything you have and blot it, and it will pick it up. You just have to be patient. You can't, tear the paper. But it will lighten it up eventually. And the other thing is, you can take the color that you used for that centerpiece, and you can, let me do the one at the bottom here. You can go around. And what happens is, anytime you go around something, it makes whatever it goes around lighter, makes it feel lighter. And also I'm filling in, that's the one thing you can do. You can fill in the grid pattern with a very light tint of your color, very light tint, or just water. Go over it with water, and what happens, but don't go over everything, you can't take it way too literally. Okay, now there's a highlight right here, and I think, was that you, Doris?
Yes.
Okay, I would just, instead of that being like bright white, bright white and in my face too much, I would just tone that down a little bit. And then maybe I want to, get some more darks around here so I can have the light showing through. But this is going to take time. Oh, and then how it looks like it's all seedy. So it looks real seedy. Well, I might take another brush. It's a little wet for this, but I might take another brush, and with the cadmium yellow, even while it's wet, I might, maybe not too wet, but drop in those seedy looking things. Can you see that? And in the center, the same thing, where the green, you go back in, mix a little bit of green with brown, and then you can get in here. That's a little dark, but I'm exaggerating this a little bit so it's better to the camera. Okay, but this is all the build, and it would, I would work on it today and then work on it again tomorrow. I don't try to do every painting fully in a day, because that, that's too much. Now the highlights on here, I'm gonna
Could you use kosher salt in the middle for the seeds? Would that work?
What was that?
Kosher salt to.
Oh, kosher salt. Yeah, you might try that. Sure. Why not? Yes, you might try that. You might try that. That, there's an idea. I just don't want it to be too even all the way around there. It gets a little, but sure, pull some of those, techniques out. But I will show you this again online if you like. We'll take it at this point, then we'll go to the next point. And there's masking fluid here, which I took off. So you can see the stems and you can see how it reacts. It's a little differently. It's not just like a brush stroke. It has a feeling to it. Okay.
Karen,
Yes.
could you send us pictures every time you stop? You say you do it in stages.
Yes, I can do that. Yes.
Because I'm always curious when you block color and then we see the finished. What's happening in between? How did it get from the where we saw you last?
Right, A to B, A to C.
Yeah, and I'm wondering if there's a bunch of steps in between that I'm missing.
Well, there are many steps, but this is like real beginning and real fast. So what I'll do is I'll take a picture of this, then I'll go to the next stage. Yeah, I'll do it. Every time I sit down to work on it, I'll do another stage. I'll do another
Yeah,
photo.
that would be a huge help to me.
Okay, that's good. Now I see from Lauren, how do you paint to avoid a hard edge? If you get one, how do you fix it? Well, you can fix it a couple of ways. You can use a scrubber, which you guys know what that's like, a little hard bristle. Let me see if I have one handy here. Okay, here's the handy scrubber. I don't like to use these all the time, but when you need them, hey, that's the deal. That's what you use. Let's see, where would there be maybe a hard edge here that I couldn't manage? Let's look at this edge right here, even though it might not be a hard edge, but you know, you wet the scrubber with dry paint, and then you move along the edge very, very nicely, very quietly. You don't want to rip the paper, but you see what happened to that hard edge? Lauren? You see that? I don't know if she's with us anymore. Okay. Pardon?
I'm here.
Oh, you're here. Do you see this?
Yes, it looks lovely. I mean, I seem to have that problem quite a bit, and I'm
Okay, well, let me do it again up here. It's dry paint, wet scrubber, and you don't want to go at it like you're doing the bathroom floor or anything. You know, God forbid. No, we all have to do that. And then it softens the edge right up.
see that.
And it's good, and it's good when you know, when you need it, it really helps. You just don't want to be scrubbing all the time. You don't want to, you want to use it when you need to.
Okay.
Okay, and I do that. Oh, that's another thing. Doris, when you wanted, if you wanted to get some of these lights in here, now this might be too wet, but let me try an area that I think is drier. Up here on top, say there's this really highlight area up here. You take the scrubber, you look at the shape, have a hanky. There you go. Do you see that? It lifted it right out. So that's a good spot. But you can't do it on wet. You can't do it on wet paint. It'll just make a mess. So, but that was dry. Okay. Now it's been my pleasure. I loved working with this group. I can't even tell you all the wonderful paintings. I mean, we're up to, the artist update was up to number 7. So it was a lot accomplished. What brand of masking fluid do you recommend? Let me give you the name. I'll give it to you.
Yeah, I have this Daniel Smith, and I don't like this one. The one I had before was great, but this one, watery bubbles.
Okay, well, I'll tell you, I have tried them all, and I'll bring, I have every bottle over here, but my all-time favorite, and I buy it on Amazon, is this one. Let's see. It's a HWC utility. It says specifically watercolor masking fluid. It comes in a little bottle like this. And then I just buy these bottles there also. And I load it up myself. And this can be used with a brush. It can be used with any of these bottles. You know, it can be used with a, like a bamboo stick or a pen. It's really terrific. The other one I have used, and it's okay, but not my favorite, is this Aquel. It's all called extra fine watercolor masking gum.
I think that's what I had last time, and that one was good. This one, no, Daniel Smith.
Yeah, and they're
watery, bubbly.
Yeah, and they're supposed to be a premium brand as far as paint go. But believe me, I have tried every one of these, and I am only happy. I'm very happy with the one.
Okay.
Anything else?
Karen, it's Marie Claire. Hi. I've used masking tape in a bottle as you suggested,
Yeah.
But I wasn't using it regularly and I found that it all gummed up and dried up inside of the bottle. Is there any way to avoid that besides just using it more frequently?
Well, more frequently, and if it's a if it's a larger bottle, then put it in something smaller and try to use it more frequently, I would say. You know, it's got a mind of its own, masking fluid. It only lasts so long. And I found that putting it in these squeeze bottles, I'm going to show you how the little bottles come from, and they're very reasonable. Here's how they come. They come in a package like this, you know, several bottles, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then all these extra tips. And this is also, I also bought this on Amazon, and it's called Norberg and Linden. And, you know, it says do not sell separately, but it's just a precision tip applicator bottle. And they're wonderful. And you can, you know, sometimes they make different tips. This group is all the same, but in this case, they have a little protector that you can use on it, and that keeps it a little fresher. But the ones in the pens, oh my, they're gone in a few minutes. I've gotten away from that. But when you need a thicker line, you need a thicker line, or you need a brush, and don't forget to use the soapy water, because otherwise you have a mess on your hands. These bottles come with this little, you know, goes on. It has a little thing to protect the top, and then you just refill them. You can use a little funnel, or you can make your own funnel out of foil, aluminum foil. But these are the ticket for me. I've been using them now for a couple of years. I just gave them to my students at the museum because I said, oh, they were having such a horrible time and it was really becoming messy. So I thought that was a good idea. So you can get together and buy a bag for a few of you if you want. And, you know, they're not much money at all.
Karen,
Yes.
I find that with that bottle, that after I'm finished using it or whatever, instead of putting that little rubber thing that it comes with,
Yeah.
I have these dressmaking pins that have these little balls on top.
There you go. See mine?
I stick the pin into that little metal spout. Oh, yeah. And it keeps it from getting gummy, so that, I mean, you just pull the pin out and it keeps the masking fluid from getting stuck inside.
It does. And you know what, if you go by there and if say you do have a problem, you can always take the top off. I use a pin as well. And if you have any collection of the masking fluid inside, just run the whole thing under hot water, let it soak for a little while, and then voila, you're back. So I use the pins as well. I use sometimes the cover and sometimes the pin. But believe me, it's just a matter of taking care of your tools. That's all that is. Let's see. How do you avoid overdoing a painting? Oh my. Well, I'll tell you. I had that question. You know, the one with the little boy. I got to a point, and I said to myself, "That's enough." You just have to have a feeling about what's enough. Did I accomplish what I wanted? I mean, does it say what I wanted? Yes. So that's when you stop. That's when you stop. And you know what? It's also good if you're not sure, put it aside and walk by it every couple days, and then you'll know. You'll know, because don't just, if you're at a point where you don't know, stop on that painting and start something else. And then go back and forth. Because otherwise you'll wear it out. Doesn't this look like a big eyeball with eyelashes?
Yeah.
It's really funny. Okay, so let's see what else. What size brushes did you use today? I used a 10, let's see, 10, 4, and I believe it was 8. 10, 4, and 8. And you know, whatever is appropriate. But I'll tell you, more than the size of the brush, have your brush, make sure you get at least 1 or 2 good brushes that make a really good point. See that point? But they can still make a stroke. They can still give you a stroke. So there's one that makes a point, and a stroke. And take good care of your tools. I'm a big one. Wash all your brushes in cool water, not warm, because the warm water will release the glue that holds the bristles in. So that's not good. But take good care of your tools. They're not inexpensive, and they'll last a long time if you do that. What brand? Okay, we did the fluid, we did the hard edge, we did the gold. Anybody else?
Karen, this
Yes.
is Lita.
Yes, Lita.
I'm wondering how you're going to handle the sky that you see between the petals. I don't know if we'll see that when you send out your progress, but I keep on thinking about it.
Yeah, well, you know what? That's why I left a little, as I was putting in some of that green, I left a little, I dropped droplets of blue here and there. Now, if I had had a little more time, I probably would have done a little more thinking on that. But I'm gonna show you the build, and I will put a comment as what I've done each time, because
That would be great. Thank you.
Yeah, I like that a lot because I'm behind and I can say, what did she do 2 weeks ago?
Yeah. Has anybody seen any of the videos?
Yeah, I looked at that too. That helps.
Yes, I have.
Are you seeing more than the first one on YouTube?
Yeah, the only one that seems to be missing is, I think, the second.
Yeah.
The second
Okay.
one. But other than that, they've all been uploaded.
Okay, are they uploaded just to YouTube, or?
I don't know. I only use YouTube because I subscribe and notify. So I always know when they're, when they're uploaded.
Okay, I tried to find, I guess, the second one, and then I gave up. So that was the only one not there. Okay.
That's not there.
Okay, well, it's been my pleasure. I will finish this painting step by step. I will send it to you as a group. And if you don't receive anything from me, please let me go here to putting in my email address one more time. Please write to me, because now it's the mill is unable to send my stuff out as a group, so I'm having to do my own. So please do that. And now that we have a break, you have time to do some great paintings. You have time to do a beautiful sunflower getting ready for spring. Or, oh, those pansies. Oh, that was so painful. I saw lots of you did good pansies. Mine, this was one that I'm telling you, oh, talk about a struggle. Whoo, mamma mia. You know, in fact, I did these and they had another kind of background. Remember, I had a stripe background, a green stripe. I cut them out and took them off of that, put them on this background. Then I tried a little bit of metallic. I didn't like that. Then I tried a little bit of negative paint. You know, there comes a time when you have to say, uncle. You just have to say, time to start over. And this is, to me, not successful. The painting of the flower part was okay. It was successful enough. But oh my goodness, this background, and that's what happens. There's no magic. It's you know, it's as you go.
Karen, can
Yeah.
you put your email in the chat?
I did, hun.
No, I think you might have sent it to one person possibly.
Oh, okay. So let's see, how do we do that? Everyone. Let me do everyone. I'm sorry.
Karen, I thought we had one more lesson next week. That's not right?
No, this is it for this session.
Oh.
Yeah.
Karen, it's Lauren again. I have another question for you.
Okay, go ahead.
Looking at your pansies, I mean, they're quite beautiful.
Thank you.
I'm not in love, obviously, with what, the things that you were frustrated with as well.
Right.
But I mean, I'm being honest, but I would love to know what would you do with that at this point? Would you ever cut away, parts of it or use it?
Well, you know what I could do? I could just take this, I could do this.
Oh, well, there you go.
Yeah. I could lift it off and I could put it someplace else.
Yeah.
I could just put it on white, you know?
I think it would be great on a black background.
Me too.
Oh, really? Oh, let's look at that. I have a black piece
I
of paper.
think that would be beautiful.
I'll get the black. Hang on.
Oh, thank you.
Here we go. Let's try it. Why not?
Yeah, dramatic.
Ooh.
But great. Yep.
I love that.
That is dramatic.
Yeah.
Hey, all right. Maybe that's the answer. I think somebody said to me out there, or maybe I was dreaming it, navy blue, but I think the black is really cool. Yeah. Well, that's what I would do, Lauren. just pull it right off the back.
Well answered. Well answered. Thank you so much.
You got the beginning of a collage. You could
There
just,
you go.
Exactly.
You know, and you know what I've done? Of course, there's no pansies out now, but sometimes I've done a painting and then I've taken actual petals and dropped them in. I think, let's see, Sandy, did you do some of that with your collage? You had a collage that you combined painting and collage. So maybe maybe I'm just going to keep this and see what happens. See when I get some real pansies, put things around there. But boy, isn't that the answer? Or
Fabulous.
okay. So anything else, ladies, gentlemen? No, please write to me during the break. If there's anything, I'm going to be introducing in the next session, more people, maybe one or two. And like I did with the little boy this time, I mean, this was, you know, just very quietly we introduced him. But I think the next one will be, you know, the next step. Maybe it's, you don't see a whole person, or, you know, there might be a hand holding a flower. I hate that amputee look, but we'll see. You know what I mean? I like, I would encourage you, the show at the Morgan of David Hockney, to go see that. It's all portraits in watercolor. Oh my goodness. And it's there till May. And they have it very well organized. And, you know, there's only a few people in the gallery at a time. It's wonderful. It's on 36th and Madison. Parking right on the street. Just excellent. Super excellent a show. And that's why I'm inspired now to get a little bit of a person here and there. I'd also like to introduce some architecture, you know, like this one. You know, a simple thing where we're not dealing with two vanishing points. We have, you know, one horizon and, you know, painterly techniques happening, but a little architecture, because if you're traveling and you're painting, you're going to be seeing buildings and old churches and, you know, maybe there's things you want to capture. And how do you do that? So I'll be introducing a person here or there, architecture here or there. And if there's anything that interests anyone, please let me know, and I'll be happy to address that.
Karen, do you ever do portraits?
Well, I do them, but they're not realistic.
Okay.
They're an impressionistic portrait, and it's most difficult. But I mean, we can certainly talk about it. I can do a demo of something from a photograph. I can certainly do that.
I would love to see that. I don't know if anyone else is interested, but
Okay, well, you know what? It's since I have this people thing in my head, I think it's worth it for us because we've done a lot of flowers. We've done, you know, what have we done? We've done a lot of flowers. We've done some scenes. It's now time to take another step. But you know what? I don't want to discount anybody. We've done fruits and vegetables. I don't want to discount anything. I think you guys did wonderful work with the books and the grids, and I hope you enjoyed that.
it's wonderful. Thank you so much.
You did. Thank
Yes,
you.
thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.